Okay, thank you everybody for coming. Special guest today, Dr. Evan Reddick, comes to us from University of Tennessee, where he got his PhD. He was recruited to Southwestern to study in Neil Alto's lab. He's interested in the mechanisms of bacterial infectious disease and how they may relate to cancer biology and cancer therapeutics. But today he's going to talk to us about something everyone needs to be doing, effective networking. He actually may call himself not an expert, but I would disagree. Evan is one of the most networked postdocs we have on campus, and I think he's a tremendous resource for peer mentorship. And so, thank you, Evan, for talking today.
First off, start off by saying thank you to UT Southwestern. They paid for me to go to San Francisco in March and represent Southwestern Medical Center at the Postdoctoral Association National Meeting. And I attended a workshop to learn how to teach what I'm going to teach here. So they made me a network. They bootstrapped me very quickly. But I think I've learned a lot on my own. Thank you. Yeah. I don't have any microscopy images, so it's going to be fine. So essentially, what I'm going to talk to you about today, the title of the talk that you saw that drew you here, hopefully aside from the cookies, is effective networking. But that doesn't necessarily say a lot. But what effective networking is it's a tool, right? So you're creating a tool, you're fostering a tool for yourself, and it's a tool for building relationships and allowing you to go and look at any possible career option. And so there's two ways to get the career of your choice. One is to be the best in your field, and unfortunately there's only about maybe 50 or 80 fields out there, but there's hundreds of thousands of people. So not everyone can be the best in their field. The other way you do that is networking, and that's knowing the right people, being able to interact with the correct people, and hopefully achieve your goals. So the objective of today's talk essentially is going to be, when you leave, I want you to have a full understanding of what networking is, how to do it right, and to know all the pitfalls associated with it. Because networking really is straightforward, and it's not about you, but it's also not about your potential contact. It's about the two of you, and it's about you and your network. So it's essentially developing a beneficial network. So developing a network that'll benefit everybody involved in order to allow you to get closer and closer to more and more influential people, and then to achieve whatever goals that you set for yourself. And so this is sort of an introductory slide that I think speaks volumes. Is that if this is you right here, and you're fostering your own network, and it might not be big right now, but you're going to learn to grow it. And so you're fostering your own network, but you know already, you've identified this one, the perfect connection. This is the hiring manager at the company you want to work for, or this is the department chair of the department at the university you want to work for, and you need to get to know this person. But going from here to here, that's a large chasm, right, that you have to cross. But you can do so with networking. And so this person is going to have their own network of individuals that they interact with on a regular basis, and that have rapport with, and that they know and understand and trust. And so essentially you can find out where these connections lie and map a path to get to that person through your networks by making your network work for you. The problem, however, is that you're not connected to this person right here. So this is your next potential contact. This is who you want to connect with next. And in all cases of networking, the number one question that comes up is, when you attempt to establish this interaction, the first thing this person thinks is, how's this going to reflect on me? Because you are judged by the company you keep, right? So if I have a whole bunch of good networks, but I've got this one person who always posts pictures of him at parties and doing terrible things, and he gets arrested, then I'm judged because I keep him as a friend. I need to lose that guy, right? So in this case, this next potential contact is going to look at you and is going to judge you by your network, is going to judge you by your social fingerprint, is going to judge you and say, if I network with this person, if I link in with this person and say, this orange fellow now can see you, are they going to look at me positively, or are they going to look at me negatively? And so this is how you build a good network. So I'm going to start with a couple slides of just really common mistakes that I've made, that I think everyone has made in their career as they attempt to start networking. And the number one is that you start networking because you think that it's all about you, or it's me. And so networking is really about us, right? Is if you can show value, if you can show the person that you can help them, then they're more than happy to help you. But not until then, really, okay? And so the first most common mistake is either asking too much, or thinking that networking is really all about you. And this kind of tailors into this dovetails with this sort of where assuming that your needs are priority. So this person that you're trying to network with, they also have their own needs, their own goals, their own aspirations. And in many cases, even though you think you might not be able to, you're in a position to help them because somebody in your network is the perfect connection for them. So you can make that introduction, and that's a perfect way to get introduced to them, and everything's happy. So these people have needs too that you're trying to interact with, and if they perceive that you're able to help them, they're much more likely to help you. So this is very common, right, is poor professional etiquette, is acting in an inappropriate manner or having a poor social fingerprint. And what I mean by that is having a great LinkedIn page and having a very professional Twitter account, but you've got that Facebook page with just nothing but party pics. And that was cool when you were in college, but it's not cool anymore. And so bringing up inappropriate topics, talking about inappropriate things, inappropriate times, having poor manners, poor body language even, it's not even that great because you're judged initially. You don't have a second chance to make a first impression. And when you want to interact with this potential next contact, having bad body language or showing poor manners or so, that could shut that potential contact down for you. Another one of these is, and I've alluded to this already, is a less than professional online image. And so reposting things that you see on Facebook because you find them funny, you're judged by the social group that you keep. And so having a poor LinkedIn page is almost worse than not having not even having a LinkedIn page to begin with. Your LinkedIn, we're going to get to LinkedIn, of course, but LinkedIn is your online resume. It's your advocate online when you're not. A lot of job searches happen on LinkedIn because they find you because of keywords in your profile. And so they think, okay, this person's got all these keywords, let's go see a picture of them, or let's go see if they have a Facebook page. And if you've got a cruddy Facebook page, but you've got a great LinkedIn or a mediocre LinkedIn, that could go to hurt you too. And finally, this goes without saying, I think, but once you're networked in with someone, once you've interacted with somebody, and once you've established rapport and you've begun helping each other out, if you just stop all that and years go by without making contact, without an email or a phone call or something, that's called not nurturing your network. And so when it comes time, you see that person, oh my gosh, that person knows this guy who's got my job, who's got the job I want. So I'll make contact and say, hey, can you help me out? Well, I haven't heard from you in 2 years. Why are you just now getting to me? Oh, you want something. Okay, I see. So maintaining contact with the individual is extremely important as well. And I guess finally, I love doing this. This is fun for me because essentially I'll see jobs that I couldn't get or I don't want because they're out of my specialty. But I know people who could get them or I know people who want them. And so I forward information all the time. I do this on Twitter constantly. I follow AstraZeneca jobs, I follow Merck jobs, I follow all these job postings. And I'll see a job and I'll say, hey, I know a person who would like that. I'll forward that to them. It's really simple. And that's what keeps me sort of nurturing my network. And so not forwarding important information, I mean, hopefully no one would ever see that you saw a job that one guy in your network could have used and you didn't forward it to them. That's just, that's not good. So for preparing a network, let's go through what's involved here. So the first thing I think we have to do, of course, and this is that image that you saw earlier, is identify with whom you want to network. And proper grammar is important, right? So with whom do you wish to network? So finding out who to network is just as important as starting to network. Because if you just network with people that can't help you and you can't help them, you're wasting your time. And so sit down and think about where do you want to go. Make up your plan. What's my 5-year plan? What's my 10-year plan? Where do I want to be in 8 years? Okay, I want to be, this is outrageous, but let's say in 25 years I want to be senior vice president of a named pharmaceutical company. I hope it happens, but it probably won't. So if I want to be there, who do I need to network in with? I need to identify people in that particular group or in multiple groups that are at that level now so I can start establishing a rapport with them so that when it does come time for promotions, whatever, they will have known me for many, many years, even before I even got to the company. So it's about forward thinking and it's about identifying who to network with. And it's not that hard, right? You can do it on Google. You could go to Google and find out who are these people at this company and jot their names down and say, okay, this is my hit list right now. I want to go and find these guys and I want to network with them. So finding out where to meet people, this is sometimes tricky, right? And it's tricky here in Dallas, especially if you're looking to go into biotech. If you're looking to go into academia, it doesn't really matter where you are in the United States, right? Because a lot of academic stuff happens at conferences. And those happens all over, and you're going to travel to those anyway if you're in that particular field. So if you're in biotech, determining where to meet people is sometimes difficult. But there's oftentimes trade shows and there's oftentimes meetings that will cater to the biotech crowd. and identifying those and going to them, even if it costs your own money. Just, a couple $100 just to go, you can meet that one contact that could land you the job, and it's all worth it. So defining what to focus on. Nothing's worse than interacting with somebody for the first time and not really knowing what to say. Because nobody wants to hear, hi, how you doing? I want to network with you because I think you might have a job for me in the future. That's not appropriate, right? Somebody's going to say, okay, yeah, I've got 5 million people who want to do that, so just get in line. No. So if you can define what to focus on, so figure out what this contact of yours did in grad school. What did they do in postdoc? Did they have some cool papers? Did they have some neat findings? Discuss that with them, right? Prepare. Raise your hand if you were at the talk last night. There were a few, right? So one thing we talked about last night was perfect preparation, not just preparation, right? So I swam in college, and I still remember my coach screaming at us while we're in the lanes, and he would yell, "Practice perfect," or "perfect practice," because if you practice, you're not going to get any better. But if you practice perfect, you are going to eventually become perfect. And so practice. Come up with questions. Figure out what you're going to say. Nobody likes it when they say, "Hi, how are you doing?" You go, "Great." It doesn't help. So practice. This is silly, but envision being successful. See yourself on the path to getting this right job, And then finally, and this is probably just as important as all the others, is be memorable. If you're trying to link in with somebody who is established in the field, whether it be academia or industry, they meet 25 people a day, and probably 10 of those are new people. And so being able to stand out from the crowd and be memorable is of paramount importance. And we'll talk about how to do that next. So something about going to a networking meeting or going to your first conference or fifth conference or whatever is that when you go to a networking meeting or when you go into a conference hall or a poster hall and you have the chance to network, you should set goals for yourself. And so this sort of helps keep you on track, right? And one of those goals is saying, okay, I'm going to talk to 10 different people at this event. And so I've got an hour to do it. 10 people, I need to talk to a different person every 7 minutes or so in order to get through my list that I want to meet 10 new people. And so when 7 minutes are over, even if I'm having a good conversation, you politely say, thanks for this interaction, I really enjoyed this, but I promised myself I'd meet at least 10 people during this event. Thank you for your time, I'll call you, or I'll email you, here's my business card, whatever. And it's a really good way to get to meet more people and not end up getting sort of trapped by one person during the entire meeting. And then this is huge, right? Especially the first time that you go to a networking meeting, is agreeing to yourself and just saying, I'm going to listen more than I'm going to talk. So professional visitors, we all do this, right? We go into a room, we look around, we see 2 or 3 people we know, and we go and stand beside them and we just hang out for a little while. And all the other people we don't know, it's like, maybe I'll talk to them later. If you're there, this is your job. When you go to network, this becomes your job, and you need to get to know people. A person you don't know is potential contact. And so going and talking to them and not hanging out with people you know is extremely important. And so this may sound silly, right? But you have to be interested. You can't just do it and go through the motions. You can see through that, and so can they. So genuinely get to know them. We don't need to know blood type and children's middle names or anything, but getting to know people and understand what are their motivations, why are they here, why are they going in the career path that they're after. So essentially, this is another one of these tisk for task things, is that they'll be interested in you if they perceive interest from you. Another one is not shutting down the conversation, right? Is it sunny in the city you live in? Well, you're talking about the weather, sure, but they say yes, the conversation is over, right? So ask open-ended questions. So what do you feel the biotech market is going to be after we get out of this recession? Oh my gosh, there's so many possible answers to that, right? So that's an enormously open question that you could ask that just keeps the conversation rolling and doesn't slow things down. So we talked about this last night, and I'd like to think that everybody that was there last night had a really good experience, but essentially this is called the elevator pitch. It's the elevator talk. This is the idea that the nomenclature alone suggests that you're in a box trapped with this person for 30 seconds or so. And so this is your one chance, almost like it's your only chance to make a first impression, and they say, so, what do you do? And if you say, I'm a biochemist, that doesn't convey anything. But if you say, you could go through a life story and you could discuss a long series of events that got you here, but that's not an elevator talk, that's sit down and let's have 8 cups of coffee together talk. So an elevator talk is a very quick 45-second to 2-minute synopsis of who you are, where you come from, why you want to do what you want to do, what motivates you, where you're going to go, and how you're going to get there. Just the whole shebang. And it's really hard to craft, right? It's really difficult to sit down and try to think about, how am I going to say all this without looking boastful, you know? So this is not the focus of today. That was the focus of last night. But you can learn a lot on Google, and I have several references at the end. So knowing how others can help you when you begin a network is just as important, because that's what networking is, right? Is hopefully allowing yourself to help other people, but then getting them to help you at the same time. So if you go into networks with somebody and you say, "Oh, I just want to network because I want to network. I'm here to do A because of A." No. You're here to do A because of B, right? You want to network because you want them to help you in some way. And so knowing how they can help you is just as important as, extremely important, because not knowing how they can help you and say, "Oh, it's great to get to know you." So, and this is, of course, extremely important. I talked about this earlier, is that while you're getting to know this person and while you're asking these probative questions and while you're networking and discussing, if you suddenly discover, "Oh my gosh, I know somebody that works in this company where you want to go, why don't you give me a copy of your resume and I'll forward it to my friend and hopefully they can get it to the hiring manager." And that is networking. So that's how you work your network, and that's how you develop rapport with somebody. And so, hand out business cards. My father-in-law has business cards. All the people that I know in my life who are in business and not science have business cards. And for the longest time, I thought that if I were to get a business card, I would look pompous, right? I'm a scientist. I have a PhD. I haven't really done much. I'm a postdoc. I've had a couple cool papers, whatever. But you need a business card. It sounds silly, but this is the way that you communicate yourself to them after the fact. And the business cards, they have to be memorable. And so if you don't have a business card and someone hands you theirs, it's a little awkward. But having a business card is your way of sending them home with something. It's saying, "Contact me later," or "Here's my LinkedIn profile," or so. And make sure it's memorable. So who's seen the movie American Psycho? Has anybody seen American Psycho? It's a bit of a gory movie, but it's a really cool movie. It's got Bale, Christian Bale in it, play Batman. Anyway, there's a scene where there's 5 of the vice presidents of this really important company, and they're all comparing business cards. And every single business card is identical except for the name. They're completely forgettable, right? So if you go home from a conference and you've got this stack of maybe 12 business cards from people you just met, and they all look more or less identical, it's just name, serial number, rank, this sort of thing, right? So you've got the phone number, you've got where they work, you've got their name, their position, and then an address. This doesn't tell you anything about the person. And when you meet 10 people a day and they all hand you business cards, this doesn't. I'm talking let's see. I'm talking about how the person that you're handing a business card would feel. So maybe I'm talking remove third person, omniscient, I'm not sure. But so the idea is that if your business card isn't memorable, it's really not doing you any service. And so I went online and I just went and looked and I found several business cards that I thought were interesting. And you can find your own, they're really neat. So this guy's name is Dave Blank. And so he made his card to say, "Hello, my name is," and he left a blank there. And this is memorable. This is a way that you get this card and you say, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool, your name is Dave Blank." You won't forget that, right? And so you can find other cards like this. So this is a science teacher, and so he's got a picture of the skeleton, and it's all named. So it's interesting. And then this fellow, I thought this was really interesting. This guy worked. Apparently, they're competing with Dallas Printers, whoever that is. But he created a business card that looked like a Google search result. Yeah, it's neat, isn't it? Right. And so let's say you want to look for printers in Dallas, but you don't know where to go. So he said, "Did you mean my company?" And then he has all his information. This is brilliant, right? And then I'm trying to become an amateur photographer. And so I thought this was really cool. It's pictures of compound lenses, and where the f-stop marking should be, he's got his phone number, and he's got his name, and where all the serial numbers are, and the focal lengths. He's got his contact information. I thought that was neat, right? So my personal business card, I think you should all have it, right? Mine has a picture of me on it. Because I want, when I'm done and I'm finished interacting with this person and I go home, I want them to go through the business cards when they get back and say, "Oh, hey, I remember that guy." It's really, really easy to do, right? And you can go, I'm not going to promote any company because I don't have any shared stocks in them, but go to Google and type in business cards. You're going to find 25 different companies that'll print custom business cards. You import pictures and you build it just like you would a PowerPoint. So it's extremely simple. Everybody needs a business card. But the keys to a business card are memorability, etiquette, and then being able to follow up, right? Is anybody familiar with the Japanese business card exchange part of this? Yeah, so it's a very cultural thing. And I gave a talk a couple years ago in Japan, and I read about it in a Don't Be an American Idiot was the name of the tourist book. And so it talked about the Japanese business card exchange, where you turn the card around, and you face it to them, you hand it to them with holding the corners. And I thought it was, maybe something that happened a long time. No, it happens now. And it still happens at events. When you hand a business card to somebody, you don't just throw them a business card. It's almost disrespectful, right? You turn the card to face them, you hand the card to them, and you wait with them while they look at it, and then you ask them, do you have a business card? It may sound silly, but it really makes you memorable, right? So there's a lot of people that are willing just to hand it out. Yeah, here's my business card. But being respectful about it and showing respect for the person you're giving it to is also equally important. And then following up, you have 48 hours to write an email to the person, according to Etiquette magazine or whatever. But 48 hours is sort of the time horizon that you have to interact with somebody after you've made your first meeting. So that's sort of the basics. And so now we're going to talk about that's all the pitfalls and the basics of starting to network and building yourself and getting ready to network. And so now I want to shift and I want to talk about how to network. And so this is a silly graphic, but it actually drives home a pretty important point, is that there's 4 major components to an effective network. And that's if the person you're networking with, do they view you as being competent, sincere, trustworthy, and reliable? If one of these is lacking, they're much less willing to interact with you, right? And this is very multifaceted. So if your online profile is poor, if you have a bad social image, lots of things could snowball to get rid of 1, 2, or all of these. So they need to view you as a competent, sincere, trustworthy, reliable individual, and then they're willing to say, okay, this person will reflect well on me. I will network with them. And so this is how you build your network. And so the golden rule in networking is people will do business with people will do business with others that they know, like, and trust. If they don't know you, they don't like you, and they don't trust you, they're not going to network with you. So you've begun to network, you've started to go to these meetings, you hand out business cards, you interact with people, you're nice, you're kind, you get to know them. You're hopefully sending emails to them saying, thank you for the interaction, here's something that might be of importance to you, you're fostering a network. But you need to grow it now, right? So you can't just go to meeting after meeting after meeting. You need to really work on making yourself its own self-propagating network, right? And so one really, really easy way to do that is the email signature, right? So at the bottom of your email, when you send an email to somebody, you can, if you want to, you have the option to set up a signature. I have one, Pavan has one, most people I know have one. And on mine, nearly everyone's, it says their name, it says their title, it says where they are, their department, their phone numbers. I think Pavan and I think we both have like our LinkedIn profiles on there. I have my Twitter on there, and yeah, that's it. So it's just a really easy way so that if you do send an email to somebody, they can scroll down to the bottom of your email and get all your information. It's easy. It sounds silly, but most people, I don't know. Most people I know have it, but I think I have a lot of network savvy people. I've gotten a lot of emails in the past that don't have signatures. It's not going to kill you, but it's one really easy way to help out. So start close to home. So network with your workmates. Network with the people in the room with you. Talk to somebody. Shake a hand and say, hey, what do you do? Oh, you do that? Wow, I want to get into that. Maybe you can help me. You're building your network. So I stress useful contacts here, right? Because when you network with people who are not useful to you, you're being judged by them. And so if they're not trustworthy, sincere, and reliable, etc., then it looks poorly on you. So only network with people who you find to be a very useful person. So I just want to do a quick thing. So raise your hand if you have a Facebook account. Okay, if your hands are down, you're probably lying, right? No? Okay. Right, so everybody's got a Facebook account, right? Raise your hand if you have a Twitter account. Okay, so about 20%. Raise your hand if you have a LinkedIn account. Okay, much better. Wow. Okay, I didn't expect actually that many, but maybe this particular talk brings in those that have LinkedIn. Okay, so it's sample bias. That's what it is. So there was a wonderful talk that we had with the Career Development Committee. Brought in Dr. Bill Brandt. He's Vice President of HR at Southwestern, and he nearly said those exact words. And he said, you need them, but in this order. Right, to be professional, right? Facebook is fine. Have a Facebook. There's nothing wrong with it. But you need a LinkedIn. This is your resume online. You need a Twitter. This is how you interact with others in this market. And then you also need a Facebook. Even as a professional networker, you need a Facebook, because a lot of people who are so far outside of your network that you might not even have them on LinkedIn. You know, you might have an individual whose husband or whose wife is somebody, you know, important, but they have a Facebook account. So still being networked in with them is important, because you can still get the in with that individual, and you can still find a way to help each other that way. So we have to manage these things, right? And so LinkedIn is essentially your online professional image. It is the professional you online. It is your online resume. So you need to have everything up to snuff on there. You can't lie on LinkedIn. You really shouldn't embellish on LinkedIn. You need LinkedIn to be the most professional outlook as it possibly can be. And so Forbes rated it as the most ubiquitous networking site around, I guess, in 2010. And I'm sure it's held that from 11 and 12. And so Twitter is not at all like that. Twitter is actually a really cool thing, and most people know what Twitter is, right? It's 140 characters or less, and it's kind of like a rolling online microblog, right? Some people use it as a rolling online blog, and they tweet everything all day long: brushing my teeth, using the restroom, going to bed. Nobody wants to see that, right? So learning how to use Twitter and how not to use it are equally important, right? So tweeting personal things, tweeting stuff that's maybe going to give you a poor professional image is frowned upon, whereas tweeting about jobs and tweeting about what an awesome postdoctoral event this is, that's a good thing, right? And so you should follow companies. Follow the companies you want a job with. Follow the universities you want a job with. If the director of the department has a Twitter feed, follow him or her. So follow. The best advice I saw was when I was reading, I can't remember what it was, but I was reading about Twitter, and it said don't tweet for your first 6 months that you're on Twitter. And just get a feel for what other people tweet. And you can see when people get embarrassed, because they'll tweet something they know they shouldn't have tweeted. And so you can get out of that fallacy sort of by not tweeting for the first while you're on Twitter, and just watch what other people do. And so follow the companies you want a job with. We'll see them in a minute. And so don't hesitate to retweet information to your followers. I had a good friend of mine that was finishing her postdoc, and she was looking for a science writing job. And every time I would see any job related to science writing, I would forward that tweet to her. So some of you might remember her. She was in the Postdoctoral Association here at Southwestern. And I was looking through, and she has an excellent LinkedIn image. And so I just wanted to use it as an example. So if we jump to the internet real fast. There we go. So this is Mina. She was a postdoc here for a while, and she ended up getting a job with Nature Publishing Group. And so when you go to her website, the first thing you see is a pretty face. It's not a goofy image. It's not an image taken in a bar. It's not an image that she's taken in the bathroom mirror. It's a good, well-composed image, and it's her professional online image. You want this to be the thing that people recognize you by. It's got her name, it's got where she's from, it's got what she does, it's got her education, where she's been, it's got people who she's linked in with and who I'm linked in with. It's got a summary, which is great. This is your chance to essentially spell out not necessarily what you do, but what you do and why you do it. It's sort of a motivational thing. Specialties, she talks about her different jobs, all of her different experiences, where she's been, what she does. It's a very, very thorough and well done page. And so you can also have a Twitter feed. And I looked at several Twitter feeds. This is an excerpt of mine, but essentially I follow Science Magazine, National Science Foundation, science writers, Nature News, Health Funding, Genentech. Something was retweeted by Genentech, so I get to see that as well. Science Channel, Science, GlaxoSmithKline, food trucks, that's very important. AstraZeneca, GlaxoSmithKline. So I follow all these things, and so when I follow these, they tweet their third quarter earnings. They tweet their stage 3 clinical trial information. That's not proprietary, of course. And so this is all going to sort of build my elevator talk, is that when I am in that elevator with that VP of science department or whatever, and they say, so why do you want to work for us? And I can say, well, I've been following you for a while, and I know that your third quarter earnings were down a little bit, and it's probably because of the retraction of that drug off the market a year ago. And he's going to go, oh my God, how did this guy know all this? And it's because I follow it on Twitter. I read this on the train. I'm not going out of my way to do it. I do this. So I suggest everybody follow who you want to be, follow the companies you want to work for, and just retweet, you know. So growing your network, one of the easiest ways to do this is unsolicited emails. And it sounds freaky, it sounds scary. This is how I got my postdoc. I sent him he didn't have a postdoc position. I emailed him and said, I'm your postdoc, I want to work for you. And it worked out. But sending an unsolicited email is one of the best ways to do it. So find somebody in your field of interest, determine who, this is finding that contact, right? Find that contact and send them an email and just say, hey, I want to learn more. Do you have time to talk? It sounds silly, but it works. Invite them to coffee, and we'll go through an example in a minute. Does everybody have a handout that was available at the front? Because I'm going to talk about some stuff on the handout in a second. There's two handouts. There's there's an evaluation form, but then there's a text form. Anyhow, another way to do this is to use the power of Google. Google's easy to use. Google, X, and professional association. So I'm interested in the intersection of cancer biology and bacterial pathogenesis. So I would type in bacterial pathogenesis or infectious disease and the word professional association. And I'll find all kinds of associations involved in that, find out where they meet, when they meet, and go to one of these meetings. This is how you meet people. This is how you get ahead. Email board members from the NPA. So NPA has board members. NPA gives links to companies' board members. So you can really find a lot through the NPA website. And we all went to school. Most of us went to school at two different places. And so you've got alumni databases that you can leverage. So go look up alumni databases. This is one of the best icebreakers in the world, right? Hey, I went to the same university you did. You know, in my case, I'd say go Vols, you know, or whatever. And so find people that you went to school with or went to the same school as you, and use that as an icebreaker to get introduced. Find professional associations, and meetings and conferences are invaluable. And then, who's seen the Start a Conversation tab on LinkedIn? Does anybody know about that? It's good, but it's also really dangerous, right? Because you're really putting your neck out there. Start a conversation, you can click on it, and essentially send a link to all of your followers on LinkedIn and say, I'd like to talk about this, and you can make it however eloquent you'd like. At least once a week, I see a Start a Conversation from one of my people that I'm linked in with, and I think, why am I linked in with that person? And in some cases, I've terminated my link because they're asking such silly questions, or they're trying to start an inappropriate, non-professional discussion. And so, but this can be a great use too. So you can start this conversation and say, hey, I just moved to the Cleveland area. Does anybody know about anyone hiring in Cleveland? There's nothing wrong with that. And it's a wonderful way to really boost your network and get links in that area. So you've got this on your text in front of you, so you don't have to read it off of this, but if you want to, you can. I'm not going to read every word, but we're going to go through this really fast. This is a sample request for an informational interview. And so this is part of your take-home materials. And so when you write this email to this individual and you want to become linked in with them, this is the email you write. Now, you obviously need to put it in your own words, but this is essentially, so when I went to this National Postdoctoral Association and I went through this workshop, this is what they gave us. So this is sort of the boiled down, the best of the best. This is what the person who's doing what I'm doing now, this was their job, right? They're a professional networker. This is what they say is good. So I'm going to pass it along and just say it's good too. So essentially it says, dear so-and-so, I'm a fellow alumnus, or I went to I postdoced at Southwestern at the same time you did, or whatever. And while browsing, the university's alumni database or the company's website or whatever, I came across your information. Science policy or whatever particular thing you're interested in is an area I'm interested in exploring. And if possible, I'd love to connect with you and learn more about your career as a science policy analyst, and hope that your insights can help me out, right? So that's basically what you're saying. There's nothing wrong with this. You're not saying you're so cool, you're so great, link in with me. You're making a cogent argument. This is a persuasive argument of why this person should link in with you. And insider perspectives such as yours be greatly helpful, extremely helpful. Personal insight, perhaps we can meet over coffee, my treat. Who doesn't like free coffee? Or speak via telephone. Let me know if you're available for a little while. If you're okay with that, I'll follow up and schedule a meeting. Thank you. I look forward to hearing from you. It's that simple. That's very straightforward. It's to the point. It's not overbearing. You're not saying me. You're saying, hey, you're already established. I'd like to learn from you if you can. If you can't, that's life. So after this interview, or after you interact with somebody, and especially after somebody helps you or sends you a link or does something, You need to say thank you, right? And so the situation will dictate what level of thanks is necessary. So if the person gets you a job, a thank you letter, and maybe a bouquet of flowers, and maybe even a bottle of fine brandy. I mean, something important, right? But if somebody just points you in the right direction, a simple email saying, hey man, thank you, I really appreciate this, I didn't know it. But there's that personal interview where somebody takes time out of their day to meet with you. That's a thank you note. That's a physical letter that you send to them through the mail with a stamp on it. Everybody remember stamps? Yeah, I know, right? And so email's okay, but handwritten is always better. So if you have the chance, always handwrite it. And who doesn't like opening up mail, right? What is it, 15 years ago we were like, oh God, look at all this mail I have to open. And now it's like, oh my gosh, I got mail. So no one doesn't like getting mail, right? If you write a thank you note, you have this, it doesn't matter how important this person is. When you write a thank you note to them, you have their undivided attention for the time it takes them to read the note. So say what you need to say in the note because you can build your relationship. And this needs to happen. You need to send this out in about 48 hours after your initial meeting. And so I've already said this, of course. But this is also important. It doesn't matter how low on the totem pole you are. This guy could be the president and CEO of Merck, and you want a job as a scientist 1. Say, if there's anything I can ever do for you in the future, I'd be more than happy to help. It's just that, and if this person legitimately does need your help, oh my gosh, that's your chance, right? So this thank you notes are imperative. And so I'm not going to go through this with the time that I just spent. This is the sample thank you note, the example. It's on your handout. And essentially you just say, thank you for taking the time. Your information and advice was great. In fact, and here's where you share some information. You show that you were listening. You sort of quote from what the interaction was. In addition, I appreciate your suggestions, blah, blah, blah. It's just, this is a great way to say thanks. If there's anything I can do for you in the future, don't hesitate to ask. Okay, so we're going to do a group exercise, and I want people to shout out the answers here. I'm going to show you something on the board, and it looks pretty good, but there's a few things that might be wrong with it, and maybe we can go over it together. So anybody who's part of the CDC doesn't get to answer for this. Okay. So let's read it together. So, hi, Dr. So-and-so. It was great to meet you. I hope you're doing well. I'm very interested in transitioning from my wherever you are now into wherever this person is. I'd like to know if you'd be willing to give my CV, which is attached, to some people in your group. Warm regards, so-and-so. What's wrong with it? Anybody? There's a lot wrong with it. Rhonda?
I guess it's a little too informal.
Okay, it's a little too informal, right? So what makes you think it's informal? What parts of it?
I hope you're doing well.
There's a contraction there, right? So one of the things they told us was don't use contractions in your first interaction. Let the person who's above you on the rung use the first contraction. Sounds silly, but it's like where you interact with a professor, you call them doctor, until they say, nah, call me Jeff. And then it's Jeff from now on, you know. So what else is wrong with this?
It's only about the person.
It's me, right? This is not about how I can help you. It's gimme. It's like, here's my CV, quick, here, do something with it, give me a job, right? There's a few other things. Can anybody see them?
Oh, there's a grammatical error.
Where?
It's great to meet you. A comma, I hope you're doing well. I mean, that's.
Oh,
I mean, that's
okay.
so.
Well, you spotted that, but I didn't intend for that, so that's my own poor grammar then. So at what point in this is the professor you just met supposed to remember you? This is just an email. They could get this email from anybody, right? They met 25 people at this conference. They could get 25 of these emails. What do they do with those?
You should say who you are.
Exactly. It should say who you are. It should even reference maybe what you talked about, right? To jog their memory. That's why it's important to do the 48-hour thing, right? You forget stuff after 48 hours. 3 weeks later, you say, hey, I was the guy that talked to you about, transcriptional regulation. It's like, I talk about that every day. I don't have any idea who you are. But if in 48 hours you say, I talked to you about transcriptional regulation, and I brought up the point that I think it's the So let's make it better, right? There's a few other things, like for example, there's no contact information, there's no phone number, the only thing they got is a return email. I think maybe the most damning part of this is I'm very interested in transitioning into your field. Will you give my CV to other people? Not, here's my CV, I'm interested in either collaborating or working with you. It's, give my CV to other people, by the way, I'm coming in to compete with you. So there's a lot better ways to say this, right? So we're going to make it better here. So this is the massaged version of the exact same email. So now it says, Dear so-and-so, it was my pleasure to meet you yesterday. We just built rapport. As simple as that sounds, one sentence changes that, right? I'm considering a shift in research focus. Even if you're going to go compete against this person, you don't have to tell them that, right? You don't need to telegraph that to them. I'm considering a shift, and I'm interested in insight that you have gained during your career. I look forward to seeing you at wherever the next conference is. Perhaps I can buy you coffee and we can chat. If there's any way I can be of assistance to you, please don't hesitate to ask. It would be my pleasure. So you're not asking for anything. This is not about you. This is about building a network at this point, right? So this email will get a reply, I nearly guarantee. The first email will get a hard delete, right? So just helpful resources. I'm gonna give this this presentation to Parth, and Parth is going to post it on Southwestern online, where you can see all the different videos and get all the handouts. So these are mostly books, but to be honest, just use Google. Just Google what you want to know, and Google works fine. So another way to get your network working for you and get your network working is to get more involved, right? Because if we just sit in our lab and we do good science, that's pretty good, but there's plenty of other scientists doing good research too. And you're not really setting yourself apart. You set yourself apart by nurturing your network and making yourself more valuable to others. And so one of the ways to do that is the Postdoctoral Association here. This is shameless self-promotion. But we have a lot of committees, right? We've got the Career Development Committee, the Social, the Outreach, the Postdoc Informer, where if you'd like to write scientifically, International Committee, Standards, and Symposium. And what this means is committee work. So when you go into that interview for that academic job especially, but also as equally important biotech job, and the interviewer asks you, so have you been in a situation before where you've had to make decisions where other people in the group disagreed? If you work on any of these committees, you can say yes, because we're all individuals, we're all strong scientists, and we all think we know what the right answer is. And we all go in different directions. And so somebody's got to get us going in the same direction. And so by working on a committee, you really get invaluable, useful, real-world experience of herding the cats, right? You've heard that phrase, herding the cats, yeah? Of making this work, even though it looks like unsurmountable. So showing that you've been on a committee and that you've either led it or you've been a part of it and you contributed to it is extremely important. Judging science fairs. This sounds silly, but A, it's fun. B, you give back to the community. And C, a lot of these kids have parents who are important. And that sounds silly. 3 or 4 of my contacts on LinkedIn now are because I judge science fairs and I interacted with the teacher, with the adult, the parental unit at some point. And so there's PDA social events. There's one tonight. There's partying tonight. We should all go. And then participate in groups. And these are groups that can be online. They can be groups in your hometown. They can be groups at your university. So Southwestern, we have a Postdoctoral Association Facebook group. We post jobs on the Facebook group. We post informational links. We post all kinds of things. And then we've also got a PDA LinkedIn group. And so this is just a screenshot of mine. I've got a whole bunch more, but I'm with the National Postdoctoral Association, PhD careers outside of academia, Postdoctoral Association, Protein Biochemistry, Biophysics, and then Sigma Sci, and several others. So join groups on LinkedIn. This is also how you can see discussions in those groups and say, oh, I have the answer to that, or I have some insight to that. You post your insight, and I've done this before, and 3 or 4 people you've never met link in with you because they're like, oh, wow, I like what that person said. Maybe they can help me, maybe I can help them. So this is how you grow and expand your network outside of where you're at right now. So your homework, when you leave, you didn't think you'd have homework, do you? So go back to your computer sometime and on Google, search for a professional organization in your field, okay? And then go to the executive board of that particular association. So go find out who the president is, the vice president, the secretary, et cetera, and see if any of them are near you. See if any of them are in Dallas. And if they are, email them. Ask them to go out for coffee, your treat. It's scary, it's probably going to be frightening, but do it. This is how you build your network, okay? Do the same thing with alumni databases, board members' email addresses, any other form you can find to contact. Send the request, like I just said. Just send an email. You can use that sample form to tailor it. Now, what's going to be funny is if the head of the ACS gets 9 different emails that are all very formulaic, just like, yeah. Tell them you're going to take them to coffee or you're going to have a phone call with them and see if you can't get an informational interview. This person can potentially link you into to that dream job one day, right? They can get you closer to that perfect contact. So take advantage of the networking groups here at UTSW. We have an event tomorrow. Jeff Anderson's hosting it. He'll send out more emails or other emails in the future, and it's RSVP. So we got a finite number of people that can attend this, and it's a networking meeting that we're having tomorrow. So we're all going to show up ready to professionally interact and hopefully grow our networks. And link in with each other. You're in the room right now. Don't be shy, right? And so I'm going to show an acknowledgement slide, but before I finish, I want to do a live example of networking for you, okay? So first, let me just say that without the PDA, I couldn't have done this, okay? I was not LinkedIn. I was LinkedIn to like 22 people when I came to Southwestern. And by being part of CDC, I co-chaired the CDC for a while. I've interacted with all you guys, and I've really built my network, and it's because of this interaction. And I couldn't be doing what I'm doing now because PDA sent me to San Fran to learn how to do it. So NPA, they're the ones that organized the meeting that I went to. And of course, Graduate School of Biomedical Sciences, the Postdoctoral Affairs Office, they defrayed a lot of the costs of my plane trip, so that's good. And so don't forget, tonight we have a happy hour at the Ginger Man, starts at 7 p.m. It's a phenomenal networking event. Okay, so a live example. I want somebody, I don't care who, and I did not set this up ahead of time, okay? So someone tell me a company where they want to work. Let's just do a company, because that's going to be the easiest for now. Anybody?
Novartis.
No, I like Novartis, that's big, that's good. Okay, let's do Novartis, okay? So, Novartis, what kind of job do you want?
Biochemist.
Okay, biochemist. Anything specific about it?
Protein chemistry.
Okay. Okay, so, do we have jobs? So there's a job right there in Business Week. Scientist, protein analytics, and automation. Okay, let's try this. If you want me to try a different link, shout it out, because I'm doing this live. I've not practiced this, I promise. I'm hoping it works. I think it will. Okay, so we got this job, Cambridge, Mass, position type full-time. There's a job code. This is what you want, the job code. Go find the job code, okay? I'm doing this off on the screen, so it's difficult. Bear with me. Okay, so get the job code, and then we're going to go back up here to Nina's page. Okay, didn't find anything with the job code. Hey, there it is. That's the job code we just looked up, right? So you might not find the job, but if you don't, then do the keywords here in the jobs. You'll find it eventually, but there's going to be a lot of, like on the jobs on LinkedIn, if you type in protein biochemist, you're going to get 500 hits, okay? It's easier to do it using the job code because you get one hit, right? So let's click on this. And so this is the job that we just looked at, right? Yeah, that's the same number. Okay, good. And let's say that I qualify for the job and it worked perfect. So let's see who at Novartis Pharmaceuticals has this job. So I've got a shared connection with the program manager. I've got a shared connection with administrative assistant. That's even better because they can slip a resume in at night, you know. Regional clinical research associate, regional scientific director, okay. So let's say—
Explain what second means for those who are uninitiated.
Ah, okay. So, well, you'll see it when I click on it, right? So second means that I'm not connected to this person yet. Okay, they're the perfect connection for me, let's say. Okay, that second means that I'm connected to somebody who's connected to them. So I'm one away, basically. A third is two away, et cetera, et cetera. So does anybody recognize who this is right here? No? Okay, we're all young in here, I guess. I'm a second and a half year postdoc, so she left right when I got here. She was a postdoc here at Southwestern in physiology. Anyhow, so I have a connection to this job. I have multiple connections to this job because I'm LinkedIn, right? So does this hit home why networking is important? I mean, if I was the best in I'm not the best in my field, okay? I do all right, but unless I'm the best in my field, I can't just walk in and say, give me that job. With this, I can send Anna, and I know her personally, I can send her an email and say, hey Anna, I know you know Susan Lingle, PharmD, over at Novartis, and I'm looking for a job there. I found a job code that's perfect for me. I'm wondering if you couldn't link me in with her or forward my resume, or both. And so Anna knows me. I tweet stuff for Anna, so I feel like we've got enough rapport now that I could just send her my resume now, and it would be about me at this point because I cultivated my network already. Now, if I haven't talked to Anna in 2.5 years, this might be tough, you know. And let's see who else do I have shared connections with. So Marisol Howron, he's gone. Oh, wow! What a coincidence, right? So he's at Novartis right now. He was on the career development committee when I was on it. So all I have to do now, because of my interactions in the PDA, because I went out of my time, I spent an hour or so a week of my own time on the career development committee, I now know this scientist, Howron Wan, that I interacted with, we drank beer together, I know this guy. I can send him my email or my resume and say, hey dude, I want a job at your company right now, and I want you to connect me to Jocelyn. Or I want you, if you know the person, to go into the hiring manager's office and slide him my resume and say, I vouch for this guy. Suddenly you're on the top of the stack, right? And so something I said yesterday, and this is true for all of the job market, is that when you send a resume in, the first person that looks at that resume is either going to be a computer that looks at your keywords and the keywords for the job and throws you away, or it's going to be somebody that might have a high school education. And I say might because this is a person whose job it is, they get paid $22,000 a year to sit at a desk and compare your resume to the job posting. And this is the hardest person to get through. So we've got 11 or 12 years of education after high school, and we're going to get thrown in the trash can by somebody who, I don't like that. So even if I don't fit the exact job description, I know I can grow into this position. I'm a protein chemist, I can do it. So I'm going to do it through my connections. I'm going to do it through my network, right? All right, so go forth and grow your network.
So that was excellent. I just had one comment to add on to that. It was really an excellent talk. So agree to give a live example. Like let's say I know Howron too, and I applied to job at Novartis. When I applied to jobs at Novartis through the job website, I was trashed. I mean, they did not even call me. They did not even look at my application. The funny story is, by the time that the job posting already trashed me, I already met with the hiring manager because my resume was forwarded by Howron to the Novartis guy.
No kidding.
This is a funny story where I already am talking to the chief and they're proceeding to call me. This is just an example. They're calling me and everything, and then I get an email from HR, an automatic email saying, oh, sorry, Ron, you just didn't make it. You're in the talent pool. This is great. So this is how important networking is. How did it mean that I did not know a person there? It's just you don't exist. Second one, so that's really great. Second one is when you actually check out these names, when you click on them, do not just leave without saying anything. It's called actually, and I heard this also a webinar on LinkedIn. They say it's called networking stalking. If you are you're looking someone up on LinkedIn and you don't say anything, they're like, why is this person looking at me? He's not saying anything. If he's big, he doesn't have time. That's okay. But if it's someone about your peer, and this person is looking at me. Is he trying to do something? So definitely say hello, say hi, how are you doing? And this is also an opportunity for your network. So when you visit somebody else's LinkedIn page, by mistake it's okay, but if you have, maybe you're intending to do some business, drop a note, say something, don't just because everyone can see who is viewing you, right? And this is important. I did not know how important that is because until someone said, you were on my LinkedIn page, so what's up? So definitely say, hey, it looks cool, congratulations with your new job, it's been a while we met, we should probably meet. Say something when you actually are on. Yeah, there you go.
So I think I can click to make it.
Say no thanks.